dipping system. So cool, right? But there still is a lot of steps. You gotta, dip it 3/4 of the way up, and you gotta do it rather quickly, and then you gotta put the sealant on to make sure, and then you gotta buff it and file it and shape it. But did you know that you can even make it simpler? That's dip on natural nails made super simple. Let me show you Susie's way. Let's get started. I do recommend, no matter what system you're using or trying, especially for the first time, that you try it on one nail first and do one nail as you go complete. Because whatever error you make, you can learn and change that mistake for the next nail. But if you do all the nails in all the steps at the same time, then you make all the mistakes on all the nails. So I have removed all of my acrylic. I was wearing these actually. Cameraman will show you a picture of what I just took off. And why I mentioned that is because now I have natural nails. I want to show you how beautiful the removal went. It's all in how you remove. It's not the product that ruins your nails. It's how we treat the nails. So I've removed it perfectly, and now I've got 2 beautiful, healthy nails. Well, all of them, and I've done 3, but I'm going to leave the 2 here to show you how to do this super easy, simple dip. So these nails are nice and naked, so I am going to buff them up. I'm just going to get a medium file. I'm using my Susie's kit. This is not a sponsored video at all, but I'm using the Kiara Sky glasses. Okay, so all I'm going to do is simply buff up the surface of the natural nail ever so gently. Now, the reason why this is important, and you don't want to dig into the natural nail, you're just simply buffing the surface, taking away the shine, and it does remove some of the oils at the same time. Now, if you've washed your hands before, there can be oils from your soap, believe it or not. So if you have any issues with lifting, it could be the oils in your soap, okay? So I'm going to buff one nail, I'm going to dust free it, and then I'm going to simplify the steps of the dip. So first of all, remove the top coat right out of it. So you're now just contending with 3, okay? Every dip system is about the same. There's a bond, there's a base, and there's a seal, okay? So right now we will take away the seal because we don't need him right now. And we're just going to focus on the bond. And the bond you only need one time. You don't use the bond through the whole procedure. It's just the one time to help the product adhere. So the bond is simply putting it on all of the nails. Now, if you are going to do one finger complete, don't put the bond on all of them because it may have a stickiness to it that if you go ahead and file, if you're going to go that route, you'll make the other nails all dusty and they're a little sticky, so they'll hang on to that file bits. So if you are just doing one at a time and learning your sort of method, then don't bond the others. So I'm just going to work on this one finger and I'm going to bond it. Now there's no hurry in this particular step. It's simply just painting it on and you don't have to worry about it. So we're going to remove that now out of the equation. Now the only one I'm going to work with right now is the base. That's all you need. So when you see dipping videos, you'll notice how they'll say just to do it up 3/4 of the way. That's only if you're trying to build it a little bit at the same time. You don't have to do that when you're doing this particular way that I have come up with. I'm just going to use this to lean this on. Now this can be a little bit of a timed thing. That's why I do recommend doing one at a time. Now, if you're using a nude or a pink, then you don't have to use the clear or the natural as a base. But if you're using a color like these 2 colors here that I'm using, the purple and the orange, it could take a chance of staining the natural nail. So you do want to put a clear base down. It's just a protectant of that natural nail. Now, when you paint on the base, the idea is wherever you paint the base is where the powder is going to stick to, okay? So we're going to do 2 coats. So if you don't like the first one, that's okay. We're going to do another one. So I just gently take the base out. And just like you're coating a nail polish on your nail, just simply coat, and don't do it thick, don't bulk it up near the cuticle. Just paint it ever so nicely. Now you can dip it, but I kind of like to pour it. So I'm gonna pour, and that way I can see exactly where it might need. I can sort of turn it a little, rotate it a little, and I personally like that. If you are a little heavy-handed with the base, when you dip it in there, you could push it and put a little pressure on it, and you might move the base around a little. If you do that, you'll have to take it all off and start again. But this pouring method certainly does avoid that, doesn't it? Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, there's no rush at this point. We're just going to let that base kind of absorb that powder a little bit. This is an all-in-one type of powder. You can use this with monomer too. I wouldn't mind seeing this with a monomer. That's really pretty. Actually, they both are. So now I just let it absorb a little bit, let it kind of soak in and let it set. This is essentially a resin, a glue, right? So it just needs a few minutes to dry. Then when I feel comfortable with that, I'm just brushing off any excess just so I don't have any extra bulk. Okay, so there's no rush at this point. See, it's pretty simple. It's really not much different than just polishing your nails. You're just doing it with a loose powder. Okay, so I'm going to go back in with the dip one more time. Oops, first I'm going to close this guy. So this has got my base on. I'm just protecting the natural color. So now I'm going to use the color. So I've chosen this beautiful purple with some beautiful glitter bits in it. Okay, so now I'm going to get that finger nice and ready. Now there's no need for speed here. You can take some time. It's just the base and the powder we're dealing with. That's the only step we're working with right now. Just to really break it down nice and simple because it can get really confusing with all the steps. The only time it matters though is when you put the base on, you just don't want it to dry for too long. So don't waste much time after you put the base on before you put the color on because it just might be dry by then. So here I go. I'm just gonna sprinkle, pour. Get that one little side. Now, if you do dip it in, you can shake the jar a little to sort of kind of get it everywhere, right? That's cool. But like I say, I do like the pouring. Oh, that is so pretty. So I'm just letting it soak in a little bit. Now, I'm sort of referring to this as you're doing it at home for yourself. But if you're doing this in a salon, you want to sprinkle or pour over, you want to have a separate little dish so there's no cross-contamination with the powders. But this is just me. Okay, don't forget, when it sets in a little bit, you just want to wipe the excess dust away. The reason why we do that is just so you don't have an accumulation of too much. And you don't want the powder to get on your little brush. So we're going to do one more, and I can see I kind of left a little spot right there. That means I didn't get the base on top of that. The powder won't stick if you don't have it there. So when I paint this on again, I'm going to make sure now I got that guy. So you can see I'm going right down to the cuticle. I'm not doing the 3/4 thing. If you do this on the thinner side, you don't have to mess around with that. Now I'm going to just make sure I get that little spot that I missed the first time. I mean, we do the same thing with nail polish too. If we miss a little spot, that's the idea of the second coat. Just gives a really nice true color. Now, just as a little side note, you could use a white powder as the base or a clear. I particularly chose a natural because I want it to look kind of not too heavy under there. But if you want it to look a little brighter, you might want to try the white underneath. It might make the color pop a little, but I really like the way this is turning out. So just letting that set in. No rush. We don't rush about. So all I'm going to do is wait for that to set. I'm just wiping off the excess dust. Oh, isn't that cute? So this is where the third step comes in, called Seal Protect. And that is just, we're going to paint it over top, just like a coat of nail polish, just to seal and protect what we have already done. Okay, so I'm going to undo this guy. Now I'm finished with the color at this point. I'll just put it away, use it as a little platform. I am just painting this on, and all it's doing is basically curing or making sure that this is completely hardened, you might say. Cute. Okay. And until we do the top coat, that is finished. Nope, you don't have to file. You can look at it sideways. I did it beautifully thin, so there's no bulk around the cuticle. There's no bulk around the side. It's just as if I polished it, except I don't have to wait for it to dry, right? Great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the orange one. So you don't have to do this part, but I'm just going to do a seal and protect on both of them just to make 100% sure that it's nice and solidly dry. And it's like alcohol, it dries really quick. Okay, so you've done all the steps, and that really didn't make it very complicated at all. And I'm not going to file these. I'm not going to buff them. They look really good. They're not bulky. They're 2 coats of color, just as if I polished. Now this is where the top coat comes in. Now I will confess, I'm generally not too happy with the top coats. Sometimes when I put them on, they don't seem as shiny to me. But the more we use these things, the more we understand, and we can use a few tricks and tips to make it look what you want. And what I've learned is, if you get a lint-free pad and some alcohol, you can clean the top really well of what we just did before we put the top coat on. That will help ensure the shine. Now at this stage, it's not that you can't buff them if you want to, but I'm trying to avoid that step for you so you don't have to worry about the filing and shaping if you don't want to go there, right? Okay, I'm just going to put this underneath here, and I'm just going to undo this guy. So this is the top coat. Now I'm going to paint the top coat over top, and I'm going to give it a couple minutes to dry, and I'm then going to paint another coat. So I'm going to put 2 coats of the top coat on, just like you were doing a coat of nail polish. Nail polish, it's best to do 2 coats too sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry, and then I do 1 more coat. Now, if you find, now this is a glue you're working with, so sometimes it might run or settle, and you might feel a little tightness underneath your natural nail. You can take a fine file and just gently go underneath and just sort of separate it if you feel any of the glue, or even you can do that with nail polish too, that's kind of running around. Okay, so I'm gonna put another coat on this, and we'll check out the reveal shot. Cute. I'm just loving my natural nails, and I hope that helps you just break down to make your dips real quick to just get a couple of coats of color. Looks adorable. If you want to see it broken down step by step, I actually walk you through in this video. Check it out.